And that takes us to clause 29, the LTP consultation document, which is a supplementary agenda. The LTP team want to come and talk to us about the LTP?
So,
or are we all comfortable with it?
And I'll make a comment.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, we'll step back.
You just want coffee. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or lack of
clearing for clearing an interest in the need for coffee.
Yeah.
To just make a wee statement about Christchurch NZ. Yeah. Okay. Carlene.
Thank you. So, as you know, of course, the long-term plan consultation document is the umbrella document that provides the key issues and proposals for the draft LTP. So it's the document that community connect with, but with the detailed information and the additional documents that sit with that. We had a discussion on this earlier in terms of Christchurch NZ and the direction you gave us in terms of including a question around that in the consultation document, which we discussed and you approved earlier in the week. That's gone through an extensive process with our auditors, our legal people, and today is really a technical sign-off of the auditor's opinion on that and the feedback on that. But Christchurch NZ have some concerns about the content, the way it's written, and that it doesn't really fully reflect what the additional funding is for. That it emphasises the major events, but in fact the funding's additional to major events for international education, the film centre, conferences and a range of things that they do. I'm satisfied that the wording as it is reflects what we discussed and the direction that you gave us. And it describes it in a way that's reasonable to understand, but the concern really is that the general public wouldn't understand that it's a wider variety of things, not just for major events. What we could do is continue to work with Christchurch NZ and clarify the information on the website and the other long-term plan documents. And also make sure that we include sort of some more specifics around the particular areas that funding, additional funding would include. It would be difficult to change the actual consultation document as it is because it's been approved by the auditors and approved by the external legal opinion as well. I don't know, Carol, if you want to talk about the actual process. But happy to take any questions.
Right. Did you want to talk before we take questions?
Perhaps I'll just reinforce what Carlene has said. Over the last couple of days, we've worked very closely with our external legal advisors and also with Audit New Zealand and the Office of the Auditor General, and that is the amended consultation document that you see before you today. The auditors have issued we have issued an updated letter of representation, and they've given us an updated audit report. So at this very late stage, with consultation occurring tomorrow, and all of the documents already being printed, it's virtually impossible to make a change.
I'll start with the additional one that just came from that last sentence. Why are we approving something if the documents have already been printed?
That has been driven by the advice from the Office of the Auditor General. They've said that including the question for Christchurch NZ was a change that was significant enough that required us to reapprove the documents.
No, but you're saying that if, from what I gathered, that we couldn't correct the wording that Christchurch NZ would be more comfortable with because the consultation document has already been started to be printed. So my question is, why are we passing any resolutions that adopts an amended consultation document if they're already printing it?
So perhaps I can respond to that. So we had the discussion earlier in the week and discussed the wording around that. That was agreed because consultation starts tomorrow. we agreed to print the documents. The main issue in terms of the Auditor General is that because they issue a new letter, I can't remember what it's called, letter of approval, opinion, then the date had to change as well, and so that's what actually you're confirming and approving as well.
We went through that on Tuesday.
Yeah, but it's just since then, I don't think any of us were aware that Christchurch NZ felt that it probably didn't reflect their position, and I think the slight changes that they want to make are more accurate than what we have, and that's what I guess is concerning, is that we might be going out with something that probably isn't reflecting the situation as correctly as what it could be.
Well, the numbers are the same. The detail is not quite.
The detail isn't the same, so it is misleading how we have it currently.
No, the details on can be in the background documents.
Yeah,
all of the consultation document is at quite a high level.
Yeah, it's very high level. Most of it.
Sounds like a slightly dubious process then for number 3, though, that if we're adopting the amended consultation document, and that in theory should pass today, but they're already being printed, what does the Auditor General say about that?
So Jamie, I can speak to that. I queried directly with Audit New Zealand yesterday, because the only change that they were making was the date of the audit opinion, and I asked the question quite directly, are you okay for us to start hitting the print button? And the response was yes.
Except if we realise that something isn't as correct as what it should be, and we sit around here and saying,
well,
can we add that?
Well, no, it's totally correct. There's no one of our.
But it just means that we can't amend the Christchurch NZ.
Well, we haven't gone into that level of detail on any other question either.
No.
To be fair. So I've got questions from David, Dion, Anne.
Yeah, look, I was just wondering really whether you're saying that the level of description of the Christchurch NZ application is not quite what they would like in the document, but if we go through and even in the background documents or whatever and make that clearer, does that in any way potentially compromise our position with the Auditor General? We come up with a descriptive that they feel may have needed further consultation, for example. Are we opening ourselves to some criticism from the Auditor General?
So as long as we do not change the consultation document, it doesn't matter what additional material we put on the website. And you will recall that earlier in the week, as councillors, you did actually sign off on the wording of this question for the LTP. For the consultation document.
Okay, Dion, then Anne, then Aaron.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a little bit of clarity, because I was under the impression that we weren't going to go to print until we signed off today, because that was what I thought was the last thing that was said at that meeting. If it needed to come to council, you will hold off on print until we signed this today, but everything else could go online. Now that was what I was strictly under the impression was going to happen.
So we talked, and Andrew unfortunately is not here, but he gave us the permission if we needed to, because you'll recall when we had the discussion earlier in the week, we were waiting for the legal advice. And he gave us the permission if we needed to bring a late paper to you today, which is what you have here. We also did talk about the print process and the timing of the printing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that my impression was that from the last meeting, and I think it was Katie that might have said it, was that if we needed to bring this paper to the council today because we needed to change something from the auditors or whatever, that everything else can happen, but the print would be delayed until we'd made the decision.
And we wouldn't have been able to go out for consultation tomorrow.
Yeah, but you said everything else could go ahead, like all the online stuff and all the other bits could still happen, but it would just mean that the printing stuff would be a day or 2 or 3 late.
And with respect, that is why we asked the auditors the question yesterday of was the only change the date. They confirmed that, and I expressly asked them, could we go ahead with the print with that?
So maybe that should have been fed back to us at that time.
I think that was fed back to us.
I didn't.
That was my understanding of what was said. So, Anne.
Yes, thank you. Just our Christchurch NZ comfortable that the information about them in the consultation document can be addressed in other ways? Because it sounds like the way it's been described is not quite what they're doing. Can that be addressed in other ways, and are they comfortable with that?
I don't think so. I think they'd like it changed. I know they'd like it changed.
Right, I've got Aaron next, then Yanni.
So just around that change, because Christchurch NZ is so new, so fresh, they need everything lined up for them as best as possible. And it's like if you go to sell a property, if you miss out a few good bits, like it doesn't leak and things like that, you might miss out on some sales. So, and this is a sales document, how much would it cost? What's the cost and time implications to change, which I'm looking at, it's probably one page. You wouldn't be redoing the entire document. I would have thought it would be a page.
You would have to do the entire document, and I think the cost of...
Why would you do the entire document?
We're bound.
We're bound.
We have bound the document, so we could.
Oh, it's not that.
This is it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is the document, you know, and as I say, if we start sort of, you know, putting cross-outs on it, it sort of loses its credibility, and again, it wouldn't meet the audit requirement. So I think the cost of producing we've just asked that because we knew someone would ask the question.
About $4,000.
About $4,000.
And a delay of how many days?
Yeah, this would be the thing that I would need some advice. Would we still be starting the consultation tomorrow?
But would we still have the booklets for tomorrow?
No.
None of them?
We would have them electronically and available at Com. We'd be able to get them to you know, service centres and libraries, and people could have them printed on demand. That would be our backup on that.
And then the booklets would be Monday or Tuesday?
Shortly after, yeah, as soon as we can make it.
Not the end of the world. Okay. So that's our decision's really around $4,000, isn't it?
Is it?
And timing.
And timing.
And audit and legal views, and
so
it's
it would,
a lot to consider here.
The $4,000 is the cost of that. The time involved in the re-go of the audit and legal would be considerably higher.
it would be additional costs, please note, if we don't start consultation tomorrow.
Yeah. Yanni.
Sorry, I think I've missed a memo. What are the Christchurch NZ changes that they want? Has that been emailed around or?
No, I understand they've spoken.
Yes. So adding in the words around not just, if you go the questions, is what do you think of the council providing additional funding to Christchurch NZ so that it can bid for major events on behalf of the city, to support new events through sponsorship, and to test the feasibility of new concepts? Within that wording, to add in international education, film centre, conferences, and the other work that relates to.
Right. And so the reason that they've asked us to include that in the question is?
Because it focuses on major events, and that's probably about half of the bid.
Right.
And misses out the film office and international education, which is 60 grand in terms of the bid.
Can I just check that, Brendan, you've got the table, I think it was roughly $1 million out of the 1.4 relates to the major events.
750.
So less than half.
So the cost breakdown for out of the 1.4 for 18-19 in descending order is $750K for major events seed fund, $300,000 for major business events seed fund. So if you put those two together, it's $1,050,000. And film office at $150K, some overhead corporate costs at $140K, international education at $60K. So in the scheme of things, what we need to do in the consultation document is pick up the major themes there. It would be unlikely, and it would be quite different to include that level of detail of that table in the consultation document.
And we haven't done it for anything else.
We haven't done it for anything else.
So we haven't addressed 360,000 of the 1.4 million.
So if we don't make the change for what Christchurch NZ have asked for, the outcome of that is that Christchurch NZ are upset.
Well, I guess it's about whether, in fact, that residents have a good understanding of what it is we're asking them about. That's probably the question.
But I'm trying to understand the consequence of not amending it to what Christchurch NZ want.
So we can put some of that information in the background documents, but the risk is that what submitters see is this bit here and think it's entirely major events.
Right, okay. And can I just ask in terms of the number of copies that we're getting, that we've got printed?
About 2,500.
Right. So just having a wee sticker or something that went over it, is that something that we've considered?
It is something we could do. There's certainly amendments we can make. It's more around the timing of getting back from legal and the audit, around are we going to consult tomorrow if that change is made.
So if I'm just trying to think of an option. So we had the electronic document which people could get.
It would be fine, there's no issue.
Yeah. We could print out a copy for people that wanted hard copies of the new modified one. And then we've only got...
And we could sticker the rest.
We could sticker the rest.
If need be.
Yeah.
If audit approves.
Place a sticker over the top.
Yeah.
Assuming audit approves and legal approves, and what's the delay with that?
Audit is probably an email of what it would look like, but legal have been somewhat harder to track down, haven't they, Ian, over the last couple of days with the other changes?
And can I just come back to the point that this has been signed off by legal and our external legal signed off by audit, external legal on that wording, and based on the go-ahead from councillors earlier this week, staff in good faith went ahead with that, expecting that that would be the case. My view is that you should adopt the consultation document as it is. Invariably through a consultation process there are matters that require clarification, and this could be one of them. We can look at amending the underlying information, but I think the critical thing is to adopt it now. From what I hear, the matters other than major events is a smaller part than the major events. And I just think you should adopt it now, and if there are any clarifications required during the process, we deal with them there.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more questions before I put it? Dion.
Okay, it might be a legal question to ask actually. Are we able, if we just approve this and say, look, the documents that have been printed are printed, but could we go through a process that all the online stuff that'll go out there can actually have these additional words?
In the question?
Yes.
No. I couldn't do a printed document that would be different from an electronic
question. You can't.
But you could have information supplementary that would support it, but I couldn't ask it would be...
And so where would that supplementary information be?
So you could put the supplementary information on the website, make that available at service centres and libraries.
Right.
Can we tease that out a little bit? Because so from what I gather, and I'll park all the fact that that I don't think the process is ideal, but I do accept around the date changes and that we did have a briefing in good faith, except the only thing, and I think the issue that we're finding with councillors is that we've had new information that has come to us within that time frame, which would be absolutely fine if there hadn't been informal assurance that everything would be good. However, I think the moral of the story is don't count your chickens before you hatch, because like I said in the last debate, the unexpected will always arrive, you know, and it's cropped up in this instance, which is problematic. But I think that we still need to find a solution there somehow. You've got, it's essentially the international education and the film office in Christchurch, which are the two things which aren't mentioned in the old wording that probably need to be put in this one. Two options really. One, we can by resolution add a 4 that goes in there, but from everything that we're hearing that's just not realistic because it's already been printed. Okay, so failing that, what we can do, because we're on the same page, we all want the same thing, but we also don't want to ask you or try and pass resolutions that don't mean anything or aren't possible. So the only option really is we can put the preferred wording on the website, so that can be done, and essentially a supplementary paper or an insert or something into the CD. The reason why I say that is that I would imagine, well, maybe I'm the only one here, but I certainly wouldn't think so, that you've got Christchurch NZ that have worked, I guess, in good faith with us. We want to give them all the tools possible and all chance for success, and I feel that it's probably poor form on our part to then for a variety of reasons, pull the rug out from underneath them and then go to print with something which they're not completely comfortable with. So that's how I feel about it. If other people don't, that's fine. But I would prefer, given that we can't change the consultation document, to have an insert and to inside the consultation document and update the website with the preferred wording. Is there any downside to that?
It with more information on it, but you wouldn't be able to change the question.
Could I just point out in the scheme of things, well, we've got, what, about 1.7 billion of capital spend, about 500 million of OPEX. We're talking about 60,000 extra for international education and a film office of 150k. They're not, we haven't consulted to that level of nth degree on any other thing. I mean, I know it must be annoying that the wording is not as you would want it, but I don't think it makes a huge amount of difference in terms of people's A, willingness to put extra money into things, and B, what it goes for. So people are going to see the consultation document, they're going to get the general impression of what we're trying to do, which is basically to do major capital repairs when we're $4 billion down the hole in terms of it. So this is a very small issue in the scheme of things. I would like to get the consultation document out there and get people's input, because it won't all be about
Christchurch NZ is essentially a startup though, so and we want to, I think, have a good relationship right from the out. When did they see the wording? When did they see the wording that we've got in here?
So I think yesterday, last night, and this was raised with us about midday today, or 11:30.
So what was the point of them seeing the wording then if it had already gone to print? That's a really good way for us to have a great relationship with them.
Well, okay, I can't answer that one. So let's just focus on what we've got. Have we got any more questions in relation to this? Because it's either get this out today or not and go through another process with audit and legal. Anne?
I'm just wondering if the $4,000 we save and not having to alter the CD document could go to Christchurch NZ to do some work around promoting the film, their film
no, because it's additional expenditure.
International education, maybe as an act of goodwill. Christchurch NZ is fledgling and we want it to be strong and we want it to grow. I don't know, maybe we could think a bit creatively about this.
I think we're very happy to think creatively about Christchurch NZ, but the consultation document process is not one that allows for creative thinking, as we've noticed with audit and legal advice. So it's either, I mean, you had a briefing on this on Tuesday, it's either adopt this now or do something different. Do I have anybody who's willing to move the recommendation that's in front of us?
Well, can we put a note that it's amended on the website or something that we can better reflect? I think it's a goodwill gesture with Christchurch NZ.
So you want to add additional information on the website? Yeah, we can't
change the consultation document, get that, but right. I wonder if at the very least we could
provide some supplementary information on the website.
Some additional information on the website for Christchurch NZ to better reflect.
That talks about the film office and the international education.
Just by way of note.
No, I don't think
Di wants us to be changing the consultation document.
And we won't go up tomorrow if we start.
This is, Di sweated blood over that baby. I don't think you want to stick it.
So this won't delay anything, but
So are we okay with that additional note? That additional will be added to the website. Is there any legal problem with that or audit problem?
No, I don't have a problem if we're going to put some additional clarification on the website.
Additional clarifying information or something relating to the funding of Christchurch NZ be available on the Christchurch
website. I wonder if it's worth just not limiting it to the website. So obviously we can't amend a printed document. But
associated documents?
And associated
documents.
Right.
So it could be material on a library or an insert or whatever, but it gives it scope to...
Good. Okay, Raf, do you want to move this? Okay, sorry, I just want to second it before we get into debate. You're seconding? Okay. Mike, is there any debate? Mike seconded. Aaron?
Yeah, I'm not overly happy with this, to be honest, and just the way we're going about it, because we've got a situation where we have a partner organisation who we're building a good relationship with. We've entrusted them to do some really special stuff for the city, and they've obviously been shown the document in advance because they're a partner. They're not happy, and like Jamie raised, why even show them? We would have been better to just go out and ambush them. But it's a case of, I think we have an opportunity to put this right. It would cost us a few $1,000s, and we could put it right. But it may seem that the council, so if we all vote against it, then we'd have to change it and put it right and then vote for it, and that's where I would sit. So I would like everyone to consider, do we put this right today? And yes, it will delay a little bit, and we might get a rap over the knuckles from Ian, but it won't be the last time that'll happen to me while I'm here. So yeah, please consider that if anyone else is debating whether we can put it right, and if we do spend that little bit of money, because I don't want them to be on a back foot so early on in their life.
I think it's a sensible way moving forward, but I just wanted to put out that I think it's a little bit disappointing that it's gone to print already, because I was, as I said before, under the impression that it wasn't going to go to print if we had to make a vote today, because what happened if we didn't vote for this? And so I think we've kind of laid the chicken before the egg was born, or something like that, because you know, if we didn't vote for this, then the whole consultation document would have to be changed again anyway. So I think it was a bit silly that we've gone out and printed it before actually it was all fully signed off.
Yeah, I must admit I agree with Dion. I was under the same impression. However, here we are, and I think it is important to get it out. And with all due respect, Aaron, we don't really know the full costs of actually delaying it and reprinting it. Those were just the top level costs, is all the stuff underneath, and the auditor and things like that. So look, you know, it's not what any of us would want today particularly, but I think it's really important that we honour our timelines and get this out to people so they can get on with reading it and feeding back to us what they think. And you know, I think the amendment, the extra note there is helpful, that we will have the information there for people. Plus, we can actually talk to them about it. So I will support it today.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sarah?
I'm just going to take full advantage since Vicky held up the booklet and said there was lots we could comment on. And so I just want to say...
And you've got 3 minutes.
Yeah. So I just want to say community funding, just saying. Since we're making alterations, clearly can't make it now, auditor, staff, but you know, community funding. Just want to say, cycleways, pushed out, all of that kind of thing, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, if that's it. It also asks about what we can do about water bottling plants. It also asks about would people prefer a fuel tax so that they could have a lesser rise in rates given what they're looking forward to. And I think also, just to say to the staff, I know this has been an amazing labour. It actually looks lovely. apart from the content and the rates increase. It's a really lovely looking book. And for Tim, who wants us all to read thousands 80% of our time, that feels like you'd want to read it. So thank you for all the hard work on it. Can I put the recommendation? Okay, those in favour please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Do you want it recorded, Aaron? Yep, Aaron?
And Dion.
Dion. Okay, Aaron and Dion opposed, wanting recording. Okay, I'll declare that carried.